Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As the newest member of the Health Select Committee, I often get to the point of speaking last in a debate, and when it comes to the last spot on the third reading of any bill, there's often very little to be said that hasn't already been said. So not one to unduly prolong debates for the sake of it, unlike some of my 08 colleagues on the other side of the House. I'll keep my comments relatively brief. I want to acknowledge the Health Select Committee, who I think have worked very cooperatively on this most important, albeit technical, amendment to the bill, and also of the very good support we received from the officials at the Ministry of Justice, who provided excellent advice to us. This was one bill that had on the face of it a pretty straightforward purpose, just to clarify the 10-year start date. Being the date of the Act came into effect. But as is often the case, the issues traversed by the committee went well beyond that scope, and although in the end we did constrain ourselves to its original purpose, we did have some quite robust discussions about some of the ethical issues, some of the technical issues, and also, as Mr Haig mentioned, some of the Law Commission's issues that were raised. And he also mentioned again in his call the Green Party's request for a review of the bill to be built into the legislation. And those two things, I think, are actually intertwined. Firstly, the purpose of this bill was not to address the Law Commission's recommendations, and I'm absolutely certain the very hard-working Minister of Justice will come to that point in the not-too-distant future of his very long tenure as Minister of Justice. I predict years and years still to go. And it's actually for that reason that I think a review is quite unnecessary and could be cumbersome. Because in fact, as many speakers in this bill have talked about, the science is very dynamic. It is changing all of the time. And a review period in the Act could actually be arbitrarily restrictive and in fact not timely enough if indeed issues like this are raised again in the future. We think we've got it right this time, but fresh eyes, new legal opinions may see us requiring just to tweak it again. So I don't support the call for a review for that reason. The one thing we did do, of course, was to put some discretion around what was previously a quite hard 10-year time limit. And in my examination of that issue, I came across a really good document from the Australian Infertility Treatment Authority, which I commend to any of the officials that are required to put guidelines around how that extension period might go. There's a very good section on when people with gametes or embryos in storage can't be located, and I'd be happy to refer it to them if they were interested in that, but it actually sets out a very good pathway for dealing with the very issue that the Select Committee was attempting to address with the amendment that was put in the committee stage. The last thing I just want to say is really to commend the very many thousands of couples around the country who go through the stress and trauma of infertility and the uncertainty that fertility treatment brings. There's a great movie by the British writer and producer Ben Elton called Maybe Baby. I don't know if any of the members have seen that, but it's a terrific sort of an insight into what that journey is like. It's very funny, but it's also very emotional, and it gives some insight into the emotional roller coaster that couples go through. And this bill, I think, takes away one of those potential problems that could have been raised if this bill didn't clarify the time limit. And for that reason, Mr Speaker, it's a good bill. I commend it to the House.